Good morning from rainy Harrisburg, the state capital of Pennsylvania. Ahead of this high-stakes debate, our new CBS News poll shows the core voters in both parties are now rallying around the Senate nominees, coming home, as they say, before Election Day. When they take the stage, a lot is on the line for Republican Mehmet Oz and Democrat John Fetterman, and for Pennsylvania voters.
I'll keep us safe, cut your taxes, and protect our jobs.
Oz and Republicans have linked Fetterman to President Biden and made crime a focal point.
All the law enforcement groups have endorsed me because they know Fetterman doesn't have their back, and I'll fight hard to let them do their job.
Across the ballot, the Republican push on crime has led other Democrats to push back, including the state's attorney general and Democratic gubernatorial nominee.
Voters are concerned about public safety, as they are the economy and protecting their fundamental freedoms. And so I talk about this issue wherever I go.
On the economy, pain is evident. The new CBS News Battleground Tracker shows voters want to hear the candidates' views on the economy and inflation policies. What's it like when you walk into a grocery store these days as a college student and you look at the prices?
28 months.
Heart-wrenching, because I get a certain amount of money for like the week, and then by the time I go grocery shopping, it's all gone.
Who wants to pay $4 for gas? You know, that's really has to be the number one issue.
And despite all that, I survived to be back, and that makes I'm going to fight for you all because I'm back out on the trial.
Fetterman, who had a stroke in May, has been reassuring.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I don't think this debate is going to go well for Fetterman. I hope I'm wrong. I love John Fetterman. I think John Fetterman is a good candidate overall, but I am genuinely fucking worried. I'm genuinely worried that this debate is going to go down in a way where, like, Dr. Oz is going to fucking brutally rip into him, be like, I'm a doctor, and I know, as a doctor, I know that you are not fit to serve. Like shit like that, you know what I mean? Things that you're not supposed to say, things that might even be illegal for you to say. I feel like Dr. Oz is going to pull out all the fucking stops. He's going to be super ableist. And I worry that, I mean, this is literally the only fucking debate that they're going to have. It's a close race already. The Democrats' chances of winning a bunch of these Senate seats was looking a lot better overall. But inflation, you know, the cost of existence going up, cost of living going up has been a huge problem for the Democrats. Democrats also haven't done a really good job. They've just basically been in like kick back and point to how crazy the Republicans are mode, which is not enough because people are already forgetting about you know, the abortion stuff
in slow motion,
and you know, planting all your hopes on the reality that like women are going to be mobilized and people who are frustrated with like bodily autonomy being diminished mobilizing is, in my opinion, not the most effective strategy.
Voters that he is ready to serve. His doctor has done the same, issuing a letter that the candidate has no work restrictions and can work full duty in public office.
But as long as I have captioning, I'm able to understand exactly what's being asked.
Fetterman's use of a captioning device will be on display during.
What is the most effective then? Dude, if I was a fucking Democratic operative right now, I would literally be blasting Republicans on every fucking televised event nonstop. I would be naming names and going fucking crazy about the fact that Arkansas Republicans have blocked or tried to desperately block student loan debt relief. Are you fucking kidding me? That's a gimme, dude. They gave that to you as a fucking gift. And instead of nailing him to the fucking cross, you're not even talking about it all that much. You rarely ever hear about it in the fucking media about the fact that the Arkansas attorneys general, or not Arkansas attorneys general, but like Arkansas as a state literally fucking took every step they could to try and stop millions of people from getting student loan debt relief at a time when insulin prices are skyrocketing, at a time when the cost of living is gigantic. Or no, it wasn't Arkansas. It was Nebraska. Fuck.
Love the stream, Hank.
I've been saying Arkansas this whole time. God damn it. Same shit. Same shit. I mean,
You won't.
And those people don't vote Republican. Those people don't vote Republican, bro. Dude, are you fucking stupid? You think Republicans don't take on student loan debt? What are you, fucking dumb? And even if you are a non-voter, you sure as hell are going to get your ass out the fucking vote. If someone tells you, hey, man, Republicans are standing between you and $10,000 to possibly $20,000 in debt relief. Are you out of your fucking mind, dog? You're crazy. You're crazy. People know one thing, and that is what's in my fucking pocket, okay? If you're going to give me 20 grand back, okay, that's 20 grand in my fucking pocket. You're delusional if you think people won't be motivated for that. No shot. Typical Dems pay for votes. Brother, of course that's called being a good legislator, okay? You are so cynical and so stupefied by the American business as usual politics that you think it's somehow wrong when a politician offers you money.
To the next 2 years.
You fucking idiot. They do that all day for the wealthy, you fucking dumbass. Let me tell you something, Hades 666. I doubt you're in the fucking highest highest tax bracket. None of those policies are helping you, but you're still fucking voting for them. You're a fucking idiot. If that's what you're doing, you're a fucking dumbass. American voting populations should be asking for more, demanding more from their fucking government.
Yeah.
It's dumb. Thanks for roasting me. Typical Dems pay for votes. Thanks for roasting me. I mean, I hope this is a wake-up call for you to recognize that, like, what do I always tell you? Rich people never say no to handouts. As a matter of fact, they legislate handouts. They literally buy the handouts. They get mad when they don't get the handouts. They get subsidies and tax breaks on the regular, okay? It's only dumb, poor, working class motherfuckers like you who have been so used to getting cucked that you literally think it's bad when the government gives you money. You're so stupid for that, okay? So here, I'm offering you an opportunity to no longer be stupid, okay? Stop being stupid. Please. And you're especially fucking stupid if you think at the top of the hour there's not going to be a fucking 60-second ad break. Or rather, that you are going to avoid seeing those ads unless you fucking subscribe. Because if you do subscribe, you will no longer see the ads. That's just a fact, okay? For $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, you will avoid the ads. Twitch Prime is free as long as you connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Okay? And you get one free Prime subscription a month. You can use it on your favorite broadcaster, one that yells at you, but yells at you out of love. Okay? You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky.
Love you.
Not many are. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. But come on, guys. I get so fucking mad when I hear people who are like working class motherfuckers who are advocating for the wealthy's best interests. It's like, bro, you're not even getting paid to do that. Why are you doing it? Oh, Dreidel Champ, thank you for the 5. Malrish for the 5. Julie High 5 and Space Ace 412, thank you for the 5 gifted. No joke, you going on rants like that is what got me out of my destructive, cynical ways and convinced me to register and vote for the first time. So keep yelling at idiots like I used to be. Yeah, that's why I do it.
I'm stupid.
In the debate in downtown State College on a football weekend, voters weighed in.
I don't think anyone should be shamed for using things that make things more accessible for them.
I think that people are wondering, can he handle the job?
There's just too much attention on it,
says media observer Al Tompkins. And more than half of the voters agree, saying they don't think it's important to talk about Fetterman's health during the debate.
I think people care about things like inflation and crime and international relations, trust in government. Those are all important issues for people.
CBS News has learned that later this week, President Biden will return to Pennsylvania to raise money for Democrats. And early next month, in November, he will be back again, that time with former President Barack Obama. They will crisscross the state, going from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, highlighting just how important this battleground is for the White House.
You're right about that, Bob. Thank you.
It's actually 2 weeks from the final.
53% no, but that'll be the main focus, 100%. I'm telling you right now, right-wing, local news is super fucking right-wing. They're going to be incredibly annoying. It'll be incredibly fucking annoying. Just you wait. Okay, here is a funny moment from the Christ and DeSantis debate.
And Ron, you talk about Joe Biden a lot. I understand. You think you're going to be running against him. I can see how you might get confused. But you're running for governor. You're running for governor. And I have a question for you. You're running for governor. Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor? Yes or no?
Ooh,
yes or no,
that's
Ron?
a good take.
Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you. And Ron.
Holy shit, dude. That is actually really good.
Votes and 8 million have already voted early. In Florida last night, an explosive debate pitting Governor Ron DeSantis against challenger Charlie Crist. Chief White House correspondent Cecilia Vega is on the scene in West Palm Beach. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hey, George, good morning to you. Early voting is already underway right here, and Ron DeSantis, he's got a commanding lead in the polls, but in that debate last night, his opponent, Charlie Crist.
I don't get it. Why wouldn't he serve 4 years? He's saying you don't give a fuck about running for governor of Florida. You just want to maintain the gubernatorial position so you can run for president. That's what he's saying. He's like, you're going to run now, but the reality is that you want to be the president. So you're going to run for president, motherfucker. Are you going to be able to sit here for 4 years and be the governor, or are you going to try and run for president? Are you using the position of governor as a launching pad into becoming president? What is wrong with that, though? Well, then why are you running for governor? Dude, what the fuck do you mean what is wrong with that, though? Oh, you're so cucked. You're so fucking brain dead and so cucked as an American voter. I want to shake you, dude. I want to shake some sense into you. This is why I don't talk about politics as much anymore, because it fucking blows my mind. What's wrong with that? I'm Floridian. Yeah, you shouldn't have said any more. I already know you're a fucking idiot, okay? He's like, I don't get it. It's better if my governor is using the governor position as a way to just fucking become the president one day. Good. That's what you want, dude. You literally are like, I'm fucking stupid. And I'm as a stupid person, I want someone who doesn't have my best interest. That's why you deserve Ron DeSantis. You deserve worse than Ron DeSantis. You had Rick Scott. Why the fuck would I ask a Floridian what they think about who the fucking governor should be, goddammit? You had the fucking Voldemort himself, responsible for the largest Medicaid fraud in the history of the United States of America, okay? As your goddamn governor.
Smile.
Floridians in the chat will be like, what's wrong with Medicare fraud? I don't understand. Like, what? I don't get it. You're just saying he's successful at, defrauding me and the government.
Seconds to answer each question. If there's a follow-up question or rebuttal, you will have up to 30 seconds. Each candidate will also have 90 seconds for a closing statement. When your time is up, you'll hear this bell. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Dennis and Lisa.
Thank you, Leland. Good evening, candidates who moments ago just met for the first time. We're happy to have you here. Welcome to our audience watching at home, on air, online,
I'm gonna mulch
and
so
on News
much.
Nation. And we encourage everyone who is watching tonight to share your thoughts on social media. Remember to use the hashtag PA Senate Debate.
Can't wait for this next star shit to be awful.
Monitors that are behind us. This is part of our closed captioning system. It was requested by John Fetterman to help him process the questions that we are asking him tonight, and approved by both campaigns, and both candidates can see the monitors.
One of the screens will show only the questions being asked tonight. The second screen will caption the questions and responses from them at odds. We have live, experienced captioners in studio to ensure we are as accurate as possible in what's sure to be a fast-paced program.
And just a note, for those of you using closed captioning at home, the captions you see are not tied to the captions that the candidates will see here tonight.
Thank you, Lisa. With that, let's get started. Mr. Fetterman, we're going to begin with you. Your political experience includes serving as the mayor of Braddock, a small borough near Pittsburgh, and one term as lieutenant governor. You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody. I'm running to serve Pennsylvania. He's running to use Pennsylvania. Here's a man that spent more than $20 million of his own money to try to buy that seat. I'm also having to talk about something called the Oz rule, that if he's on TV, he's lying. He did that during his career on his TV show. He's done that during his campaign about lying.
Shut up about good night.
Our record here. And he's also lying probably during this debate. And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up. And this campaign is all about, to me, is about fighting for everyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that needs to get back up, and fighting for all forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania that also got knocked down, that needs to get back up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Oz, you are a doctor, a businessman, and television personality. But this is your first run for elected office. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania? You have 60 seconds.
I'm running for the U.S. Senate because Washington keeps getting it wrong with extreme positions. I want to bring civility, balance, all the things that you want to see, because you've been telling it to me on the campaign trail. And by doing that, we can bring us together in a way that has not been done of late. Democrats, Republicans talking to each other. John Fetterman takes everything to an extreme, and those extreme positions hurt us all. Let's take crime as an example, because it's been such a big problem. Maureen Faulkner accompanied me today to the studio. You know that her husband was a police officer in Philadelphia, was brutally murdered. John Fetterman, during this crime wave, has been trying to get as many murderers convicted and sentenced to life in prison out of jail as possible, including people who are similar to the man who murdered her husband. He does it without the rest of the parole board agreeing. He's doing it without the families on board. These radical positions extend beyond crime to wanting to legalize all drugs, to open the border, to raising our taxes. I want Washington to be civil again. You need it to be less radical. John Fetterman, unfortunately, would bring that.
Mr. Oz, thank you. Lisa.
All right, gentlemen, on to the economy. Pennsylvanians are struggling to put food on the table and gas in their cars. Our Next Star Emerson College The Hill poll shows the economy and inflation are the biggest concerns for voters. 39% of them listed that as the top issue. Beginning with you, Mr. Oz. You have blamed President Biden and reckless Democratic spending for the inflation crisis. But voters would like to hear your specific plan to cut spending. Please explain in 60 seconds.
Well, if you ask the U.S. government, they'll tell you they have 4% waste and fraud. Now, I've traveled over the Commonwealth and spoken to countless people. There was a lady in Beaver County at a county fair who told me with fear in her heart that she wanted to provide food for her son's highly nutritious chicken she wanted. She couldn't afford it anymore. That's a big problem. If we've got 4% waste and fraud, we ought to be able to take care of that. John Fetterman's, however, response continually is to raise taxes. He raised taxes as mayor. He tried to raise taxes as a lieutenant governor, 46%. That's a big tax rate. He supported Joe Biden's recent tax rate increase, and he's done that without paying his own taxes 67 times. I'll say that again. He hasn't paid his own taxes 67 times, but he's raising mine and yours. Those are radical positions. They're extreme. They're out of touch with the values of Pennsylvanians. And I can make the difficult decisions as you do in the opera.
Is he just going to fucking lie and then and hope that he can't retort?
Raise taxes on a population already desperately in pain from the high inflation rate.
Mr. Fetterman, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal. He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes and that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Absolutely. The Oz rule, of course, he's lying. It was helping 2 students 17 years ago to help them, buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Continuing with you, Mr. Fetterman. Your opponent has criticized Democratic spending, as you heard. Has the Biden administration overspent? And if so, where do you think spending should be cut? You have 60 seconds.
No, here's what I think we have to fight about inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about inflation. Right now, because it's a tax on working families, and Dr. Oz can't possibly understand what that is like. He has 10 gigantic mansions. We must push back against corporate greed. We must make sure that we're also pushing back against price gouging as well, too. We also be able to make more in Pennsylvania and make more in America. When he had a choice to make his merchandise, the Oz label is on, he made it all in China. Who can you believe that can fight against inflation and pushing back against corporate greed, or somebody that is choosing working in China versus over American workers?
All right, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal to his comments that you have been making things in China. Mr. Oz.
I've been trying to talk about policy issues with the people of Pennsylvania. As a doctor, I listen to their ideas and I want to talk about them. When John Fetterman brings up houses, the irony is he didn't pay for his own house. He got it for $1 from his sister. And he hasn't been able to earn a living on his own. He's lived off his parents. So it's not a topic that we should be debating on the stage. We should be talking about crime and inflation, the issues that are hurting.
Let's not talk about my personal shit.
No, that's it. He got his Pennsylvania house from his own inlays from $1.
Mr. Fetterman, we have to continue on. We'll continue on with a follow-up question to you, Mr. Oz.
I'm going to be honest, he's not looking good.
You tweeted in August that you will never stop fighting to lower gas prices for Pennsylvanians. Does that include supporting a suspension of the federal gas tax? You have 30 seconds.
I'm supportive of reducing taxes, but we want to be thoughtful about the long-term game plan to get gas taxes down and, frankly, all energy prices down. I have gone around the Commonwealth. I've witnessed people say, I'm not going on vacation this year because I can't afford to pay to take my trailer to the campground. They can't even get there. What we have to do is ensure that we don't have increased inflation, and the best way to do that is reduce gas prices. John Fetterman has gone after the energy industry, called it a stain on Pennsylvania, and argued we have to ban fracking. That is disconnected from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Oz. We will get to the issue of fracking later on in this discussion. But meantime, turning back to you, Mr. Fetterman, for a follow-up. In an op-ed for the Wilkes-Barre Times Leader, you wrote, quote, "It is time we crack down on the big price gouging corporations that are making record profits while jacking up prices for all of us." How do you plan to do this, sir? You mentioned going after price gouging corporations. How do you plan to do this? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah. Exactly. We have to keep pushing back on that. And he would never make that choice to fight for families here in Pennsylvania. He has never met an oil company that he doesn't swipe right about. He has never been able to stand up for working families all across Pennsylvania. We must push back. Inflation has hurt Americans and Pennsylvania's families, and it has given the oil companies record profits.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
The minimum wage in Pennsylvania and at the national level currently sits at $7.25 an hour and has not been increased since 2009. Each of our neighboring states has raised minimum wages. You see them there on your screen, including New Jersey at $13 an hour and West Virginia at $8.75. But Pennsylvania has not followed suit. The first question is for you, Mr. Fetterman. Do you support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Why or why not? You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, I do, absolutely. I think it's a disgrace at $7.25 an hour. And how can a man, with 10 gigantic mansions, has unwilling to talk about a willing wage for anybody? Imagine a single mom trying with 2 children, trying to raise with them, realizing making $31,000 a year, $15 an hour. I believe every work has dignity, and every paycheck must have dignity in it as well. True, I've always supported a living wage, and we make sure that everyone has economic security.
I have a follow-up for you, Mr. Fetterman. What do you say to small business owners who have told us that if the minimum wage were increased to $15 an hour, it would put them out of business? You have 30 seconds.
No, we all have to make sure that everyone that works is able to, that's the most American bargain, that if you work full-time, you should be able to live in dignity as well, true. And I believe they haven't have any businesses being you can't have businesses being subsidized by not paying individuals that just simply can't afford to pay their own way.
Okay, Mr. Fetterman, thank you. Mr. Oz, turning to you. Do you support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Why or why not? You have 60 seconds.
I think market forces have already driven up the minimum wage. I was with a hotel worker actually here in Harrisburg a few months ago, and he was telling me how hard it was to live on the $15 an hour that he was getting paid. John Fetterman shoots too low. We want much more money than that. And there are many ways to achieve that, but John Fetterman thinks the minimum wage is his weekly allowance from his parents. He's not really cognizant of the real challenges of business owners who've got to balance that with employees. Thankfully, we have a solution. And John, you didn't answer the question. You can't put businesses out of commission in order to pay more wages, because the wages will go to zero, which is John Fetterman's radical plan if you really follow it to conclusion. Here's what I would do. We have one of the richest energy states in the country. I believe if we could unleash the energy beneath our feet here in Pennsylvania, there'd be plenty of money to go around. We'd have increased wages, a more reason for students to take vocational classes, to be able to learn trades, which I'm strongly supportive of. We'd also be able to pipe that gas, improve our economy, and reduce inflation. That's a plan that works, and it's humble enough that I can say broadly.
Thank you. I want to give you, Mr. Fetterman, a 15-second follow-up to what he just said about you.
No, again, it's remarkable. He hasn't really had any answer that he actually had about that in his. He doesn't want to talk about having somebody having a living wage and having somebody able to survive. Again,
and I want to come back to you now, Mr. Oz, for a quick follow-up. What do you say to those Pennsylvanians?
Bro, they're gonna cook him. Okay, they're gonna cook him. That's why I'm making a fucking face. They're gonna cut him and say that he can't even speak.
I don't think you should have to survive.
He's obviously nervous. The stroke is also slowing him down. But it's like it does not look good. It does not look good at all. He's trying to talk off the cuff. He already shut the fuck up! Fuck you! The fucking idiot! I'm Ukrainian. From what I've heard, you don't understand what the Ukrainians want. Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Stop using your $3 on essays in the TTS. Go buy a fucking howitzer missile.
To be clear, you said you want people making a lot more, but that's not through a federal law.
Motherfucker's like, my father is being bombed by the fucking insane Russians right now with a fucking suicide drone, but I used a $3 dono at the HasanAbi broadcast!
issue for voters is abortion. Mr. Oz, we will be.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
That you're pro-life, but you do support abortion exceptions in the cases of rape, incest, and to protect the life of the mother. Aside from those three exceptions, should abortion be banned in America? 60 seconds.
There should not be involvement from the federal government in how states decide their abortion decisions. As a physician, I've been in the room when there's some difficult conversations happening. I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves. Contrast that with my opponent, John Fetterman, who on this debate stage said that he would demand federally mandated rules for all states they'd have to follow that would allow abortion at 38 weeks on the delivery table, and he would force it to be subsidized by taxpayers across the country no matter what their personal beliefs are. That's radical. That's extreme. That is out of touch with what the average voter in Pennsylvania believes is appropriate. Now, ironically, John Fetterman's been running ads on this topic, dishonest ads. I need to correct the record. They were so bad, they got pulled off television stations. Even on this station, he was running dishonest ads that I had pulled off. I haven't had a single ad pulled down. My ads tell the truth. John Fetterman's are a fiction of his imagination.
All right. I'm going to let Mr. Fetterman respond specifically about the ads being pulled off the air, and then we will return to you, Mr. Oz. Mr. Fetterman.
Yeah. I want to look into the face of every woman in Pennsylvania. You know, if you believe that the choice of your reproductive freedom belongs with Dr. Oz, then you have a choice. But if you believe that the choice for abortion belongs between you and your doctor, that's what I fight for. Roe v. Wade, for me, should be the law. He celebrated when Roe v. Wade went down, and my campaign would fight for Roe v. Wade, and if given the opportunity, to codify it into law.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Going back to you, I want to circle back to something that you said, Mr. Oz. You mentioned the decision
this is
to
the best
regulate
answer he's given
abortion
so far, but it's
should
like
be something
he can't.
that is left up to the states.
He can't
Now,
formulate
Republican
complex
Senator Lindsey
sentences.
Graham has introduced a federal bill
It's
to
because
ban
he's nervous,
abortion
most
after
likely.
15
I don't think
weeks.
it's like
I know that
cognitive
you've been
abilities
asked
have
about
diminished or
this
anything, but
question
he's just
before.
like
If the vote were held today, you were elected senator, you're on the Senate floor, the clerk calls you, there's a roll call vote. Are you a yay or a nay? How would you vote on the Lindsey Graham bill? You have 30 seconds.
Lisa, I don't even need 30 seconds. I'll give you a bigger answer. I am not going to support federal rules that block the ability of states to do what they wish to do. The abortion decision should be left up to states, and specifically when John Fetterman...
You roll with Doug Mastriano.
John, when I'm done, John, you'll have your turn, John.
One moment, Mr. Fetterman. Continue, Mr. Oz.
I've been very clear on my desire as a physician not to interfere with how states decide. So when John purposely, knowingly misrepresents that to women, he scares them. He's purposely trying to alarm them, and the fear-mongering isn't working. Running tens of millions of dollars of ads claiming that I'm against all abortions when he knows that's not right, claiming that I'm going to be strict with Pennsylvania when he knows that's not honest. I can't be any clearer that I've been on the stage today. John Fetterman, if you just hear that one story today, I'd be really happy, but I know you're not going to, because you're going to go right back to telling the fables that you believe.
Mr. Oz, I want a 15-second clarification. You are saying that you would leave it up to the states, that the federal government does not have a role here. So are you saying you would not vote for the Lindsey Graham bill?
Any bill that violates what I said, which is the federal government interfering with the state rule on abortion, I would vote against. What I feel strongly about is that women in Pennsylvania understand what I'm saying and not believe that someone who's taken an extreme position like John Fetterman represents them, because most women do not believe that we should, at a federal level, codify 38 weeks of permission to have an abortion and have taxpayers pay for it.
So a yes or no on the Lindsey Graham bill?
I think I've answered it very, very clearly 3 times, Lisa.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Oz. Turning to you, Mr. Fetterman, you have frequently stated your belief that abortion should be safe and legal. Do you support any limits on when a woman can have an abortion? Please explain in 60 seconds.
You know, what I support on Roe v. Wade. That was the law of the land for 50 years. He celebrated when it fell down, and I would fight to reestablish on Roe v. Wade. That's what I run on. That's what I believe. And I've always believed that the choice belongs women and their doctors. And he believes that the choice should be with him or Republican legislators all across this nation.
All right.
I'm sorry, I must correct that. Once again, he's misrepresented what I've said, but he also said something very dishonest. On this debate stage, he said very specifically in his primary debate.
They're just letting Dr. Oz run with whatever he wants. This is Dr. Oz's debate now.
Support 38 weeks of mandated rules by the federal government that would prevent any state from blocking it. So that's not Roe versus Wade.
That's not true. I support Roe v. Wade. That's the simple.
John, you said specifically you would support a federal rule on 38 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's important that John at least acknowledge that he's not honest here, because you said the opposite on TV.
Mr. Oz, we must continue on. Mr. Fetterman, turning to you, we have a follow-up question. Would you support allocating federal funds to transport women who live in states where abortion is banned to states where they can get one, and why? 30 seconds.
I would. I would, because I believe abortion rights is a universal right for all women in America. I believe that abortion is health care, and I believe that that is a choice that belongs with each woman and their doctor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's turn to what has become one of the key themes of this race, fitness to serve. For these individual questions, there will be no rebuttals allowed. Mr. Fetterman, we begin with you. You suffered, as you mentioned a moment ago, a stroke 4 days before the May primary. Last week, you released this note from your doctor saying you can work full duty in public office, but you have not released your detailed medical records surrounding your stroke. Mr. Fetterman, will you pledge tonight to release those records in the interest of transparency? You have 60 seconds.
No. To me, for transparency is about showing up. I'm here today to have a debate. I have, speeches in front of 3,000 people in Montgomery County, all across Pennsylvania, big crowds. I believe if my doctor believes that I'm fit to serve, and that's what I believe is appropriate. And now with 2 weeks before the election, I have run a campaign, and I've been very transparent about being very open about the fact we're in use captioning. And I believe that, again, my doctors, the real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served.
Follow up, I didn't hear you say you would release your full medical records. Why not? You have 30 seconds.
No, again, my doctor all believes that I'm fit to be serving, and that's what I believe is where I'm standing.
Okay, Mr. Fetterman, thank you. Mr. Oz, you have built a lucrative career around medicine, but you've been criticized even by some fellow physicians for promoting, quote, unproven, ill-advised,
criticized?
and at times...
He literally had to go and sit in front of a fucking commission.
One of the great blessings.
He had to testify in front of Congress because he lied.
People who have watched the show, they thank me very much for giving them life-saving advice on chronic issues like high blood pressure or dealing with their anxiety. The show did very well because it provided high-quality information that empowered people, which was exactly what I want to do when I'm a senator. Give people the power. Let them make decisions for their well-being. Now, John Fetterman's approach to health is a very dangerous one. He believes we should socialize medicine. He embraced this with Bernie Sanders, who he endorsed.
So dangerous.
The two candidates called themselves the two most progressive people in America. When you have socialized medicine, Dennis, you shut down the ability of people to get access to health care. Doctors stop practicing. There are no medications available. The lines get long.
Bullshit.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, that's why they have no medicine in Europe, you fucking asshole. That's why they have no medicine in Turkey, right? Where you're from, you fucking piece of shit.
Positions like the ones taken by John Fetterman make him too extreme to serve. If we're going to bring balance to Washington,
fucking asshole, fucking monster.
Even Joe Biden called John Fetterman's idea, I'll quote him, preposterous.
Mr. Fetterman, I'm going to let you respond in just a minute, but I have a follow-up for you first, Mr. Oz. Did you or your company make a profit from promoting those products? You have 30 seconds.
I never sold weight loss products as described in those commercials. It's a television show, like this is a television show, so people can run commercials on the shows, and that's a perfectly appropriate and very transparent process. I ruffled a lot of feathers on my show because I told people the truth, and I'm proud of that. I'll do the exact same thing as a U.S. senator. But there's no way to defend what John Fetterman has done with socialized medicine. That is a radical departure from what we in America have accepted.
A
relationship between John, you'll have your turn. John, let me finish.
I must respond to that.
There must be a relationship between a doctor and a patient, and that's what I would direct patients to do.
Thank you. Mr. Fetterman, he accused you of socialized medicine, supporting socialized medicine. What is your response?
Accused you.
Again, It's the Oz rule. He's on TV and he's lying. I never supported any of that thing. You know, he keeps talking about Bernie Sanders. You know, 3 years ago he was on his show and he hugged him and he said, "I love this guy." You know what?
What is
Why
going
don't you
on?
pretend that you live in Vermont instead of Pennsylvania and run against Bernie Sanders? Because all you can do is talk about Bernie Sanders. Because my truth is that healthcare is a basic fundamental right. And I believe in expanding that, and I believe about fighting for health care, the kind of health care that saved my life.
Dennis, that was dishonest. He explicitly supported socialized
Mr. Oz,
medicine.
we have a
Bernie
lot
Sanders.
of topics to get to. I think we've did this. Lisa, you go ahead.
We are going to move on to
That
the
was a
next
terrible
topic,
answer
and this
from
has
John
come
Fetterman,
up earlier,
too.
and that is the issue of fracking.
What is going on?
Pennsylvania only trails Texas in terms
Feels
of
like
natural gas production. Both of you have taken shifting positions on the issue of fracking. Mr. Oz, we begin with you. You wrote a column in 2014 calling for no fracking pending health study results. But in a video posted on social media in March, you said, quote, "Natural gas guarantees high-paying skilled jobs right here in Pennsylvania, so back off Biden, give us freedom to frack." Mr. Oz, please explain that changing position. 60 seconds.
Bro, look at how fucking right-wing the questions are, by the way. The question assumes that fracking is good.
Lifeline for this Commonwealth to be able to build wealth, similar to what they've been able to achieve in
Like
other
they're
states.
literally like,
For
hey,
that
why
reason,
did you
I
say
strongly
fracking could be
support
unhealthy for people in
drilling,
2014,
the
you
piping
fucking
of that
piece of
natural
shit?
gas. In fact, I built a facility even in Philadelphia so we can export it to our allies and help them, the ones that are struggling now in Eastern and Western Europe because of the Ukrainian war. John Fetterman calls fracking a stain on Pennsylvania. He says that he would sign a moratorium to ban its continued use. He's against pipelines. He supported the vote against the Keystone pipeline that ended up shutting it down. He supports Biden's desire to ban fracking on public lands, which are our lands, all of our lands together. This is a extreme position on energy. If we unleashed our energy here in Pennsylvania, it would help everybody. Why John Fetterman is so rigidly stuck on fighting against energy companies is stunning to me, because it's the jobs I want. Tens of thousands of high-paying jobs to help Pennsylvanians.
Thank you, Mr. Oz.
Oz rule.
Mr. Fetterman,
you know,
15
I
seconds.
absolutely support fracking. In fact, I live across the street from a steel mill, and they were going to frack to create their own energy in order to make them more competitive. And I support that, living closer to anybody else in Pennsylvania for fracking to myself. I believe that we need independence with energy, and I believe I've walked that line my entire career. I believe Democrats...
Mr. Fetterman, I do have a specific question which you can continue on this topic, but you have made two conflicting statements regarding fracking. In a 2018 interview, you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all. I never have." But earlier this month, you told an interviewer, quote, "I support fracking. I support the energy independence that we should have here in the United States." So, Mr. Fetterman, please explain your changing position. 60 seconds.
I've always supported fracking, and I always believe that independence with our energy is critical, and we can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia. I've always believed that energy independence is critical, and I've always believed that, and I do support fracking. I've never taken any money from their industry, but I support how critical it is that we produce our own energy and create energy independence.
I must correct the record.
Just a second, Mr. Oz. I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand, and I do support fracking.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
I'm sorry, Lisa, but there's not just a statement you read. There are multiple. There's pictures of him signing a moratorium.
We have to move on.
But we have to get the fundamentals of the truth out here. John Fetterman over and over again took positions against energy.
We have a lot of topics. You will have a chance to have that in your
closing. One comment then. The energy industry is living in fear of John Fetterman. I want to know why.
Mr. Oz, we want to now turn to public safety. Mr. Fetterman, Republicans have called you dangerously soft on crime. The Pennsylvania State Troopers Association has endorsed Democrat Josh Shapiro for governor. But in this race, it endorsed your Republican opponent, Mr. Oz. What is your response to those endorsements? And what is your response to accusations that you are, quote, dangerously soft on crime? You have 60 seconds.
No. I believe that I run on my record on crime. You know, I ran to be mayor back in 2005 in order to fight gun violence, and that's exactly what I did. In working with the police and working with our community, I was able to stop gun violence for 5.5 years as mayor. Ever accomplished before or since my time as mayor, because I'm the only person on this stage right now that was successful about pushing back against gun violence and being the community more safe. You know, all he's done is just put a plan up on his website in the last 24 hours. He has no experience. He has never made any attempt to try to address crime during his entire career, except showing up for photo ops here in Philadelphia.
I will give you 15
not
seconds
bad.
to
I mean,
respond to
I
that,
get the
and then I have a
energy.
question for you.
The Fraternal Order of Police from Braddock, the small town he represented, endorsed me. They supported me because what he's saying is not true. Violence skyrocketed in Braddock. I mean, the town wasn't in a good shape when John got there. It got worse when he was there. People kept leaving. So, of course, you're going to have all kinds of aberrations. But, John, the city was dangerous under your leadership, and that's why
All right,
the
I want to
FOP
turn to you
endorsed
now.
me.
Mr. Oz, this past summer, Congress passed the first gun control bill in decades. That would not have happened without the support of the man you are running to replace Pat Toomey. How would you have voted on that bill, and would you continue Toomey's legacy as being one of the lead Republicans in Congress on pushing for gun reforms? You have 60 seconds.
I have been supported by Pat Toomey. I've enjoyed working with him. I think he's done a wonderful job. There are parts of that bill that I like a lot. For example, I like the fact that there are background checks that are being strengthened now, so we can make sure that people who should not have guns don't get guns. I also like the fact that there was a lot of money invested for mental health, which is an important part of the equation. I've been to Philadelphia. I've done prayer vigils with black clergy leaders who are desperately trying to save the people in their community. Half the murders in Philadelphia are committed by people under 18. We have got to get mental health services to these people, and it's not happening now. But part of the problem is that we have taken away the ability of police to do their job, and that's on John Fetterman. Because John Fetterman has taken such a harsh position against them. He's undermined them at every level, taken away some of their funding. He's pushed for Krasner, who he admires tremendously, and he's spoken highly of him just this week. He's taken his policies to a new extreme. He's argued that people should be let out of jail without any bail, no matter what they did to get in there. He's argued to release 1/3 of all prisoners. 1/3 of all prisoners out of touch.
Quickly, 15 seconds. Would you have voted for that Pat Toomey supported bill? If you
I
were
would have
in the
tried
Senate?
to improve that bill. There are things that I think most of us appreciate. I wasn't there at the time, so I can't speak to what was possible. But I do know there are parts of that bill that do make sense, and the ones I described should be followed. Let's see how it works out.
Okay, thank you. Lisa.
On to our next issue, and that is illegal immigration. It has been a problem in the United States for decades, but it is now spiking. U.S. Customs and Border Protection just released numbers from fiscal year 2022. They show more than 2.7 million total enforcement actions in the U.S. That is the most ever. Mr. Oz, beginning with you. Republican governors in the South have been sending migrants to Democratic-run cities and states
The
without
Philadelphia
a plan
PD's
or
budget
without
was
any
increased by
coordination.
800+
It is
million in the
certainly
past
gaining a lot
year.
of
The cops are on a
attention,
practical
but
strike in Philly.
is
They
it
haven't
an
lost a
effective
bit.
way
They
to
haven't
deal
lost
with
a
the influx of
fucking
migrants?
penny
You
of
have 60
funding.
seconds.
Lisa,
Of course,
we
this
have
is
a
the same
catastrophe
all around the
at
country,
border,
by the
and we
way.
should not have
They've been increasing their funding by, almost billions of dollars in every fucking big city.
Parts of Philadelphia and
They
Allentown
just suck.
and
They
Reading,
just suck
where
at
we
their
have
job.
large Latino populations. I
But
understand
also,
the
to be
challenges
fair,
of the-
that's not
of
how
the
you
border.
fucking
My
solve
father
crime
was an
anyway.
immigrant. My mother were immigrants. I understand what legal immigration offers us, but the completely porous, open nature of our border, which John Fetterman supports, has created a humanitarian crisis with cartels profiting with human trafficking operations. They take the money, they buy narcotics from China and bring that into our country, and it's making every state a border state. Pennsylvania is already a border state because we're top 3 in the country in fentanyl overdoses. Lisa, I can't go anywhere where and giving a big.
It's almost like the border has nothing to do with it, you fucking idiot. Exactly. Like how? How is this an argument? I want to fucking
John
kiss
Fetterman
myself.
Not only wants an open border, not only supports sanctuary cities, but he wants to legalize all hard drugs in America, including narcotics. That is, out of touch with everybody. That radical position was tried in Oregon, which he endorsed. 50% homicide increase rate.
Oh, one moment. I will give a 15-second rebuttal.
Yeah, that is, again, the Oz rule. That is just not true. Here his family's company was levied the largest fine for immigration hiring of immigrant illegals, and I think he should sit this one out about in terms of what a secure border.
All right, we do have a follow-up specifically for you, Mr. Fetterman. Vice President Kamala Harris says the southern border is secure, yet we are seeing an unprecedented number of migrants crossing. Is the border secure? And if not, what would you do to fix what both parties are calling a crisis? You have 60 seconds, Mr. Fetterman.
I believe that a secure border can be compatible with compassion. I believe we need a comprehensive and bipartisan solution for immigration. That's what I believe. I don't ever recall in the Statue of Liberty did they say, take our tired, huddled masses and put them on a bus and use cheap political stunts about them. I believe we have to develop a comprehensive and bipartisan solution to address our issue here for immigration here in our nation.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. On to the next
issue. But John's not addressing the elephant in the room, fentanyl.
We have to move on to the next issue. We will be circling back on that.
Turning now to foreign policy. Mr. Fetterman, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
I believe is right now is China. I believe China is not our friend, and I believe that we can't be able to push back, and we need to stand against China. And I believe that Dr. Oz has chosen to manufacture all of his merchandise on his name on it in China. Which one of us on this stage is going to stand up against and stand firm against China? And I believe that's our single biggest issue right now, to make sure that we address China and make sure that we know that it's not our friend.
Mr. Oz, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
The fact that our country is not projecting strength. Take, for example, what we're doing with Iran. In order to try to get them to give us a little oil so we can deal with the catastrophe that Russia has caused, we have gone to them and tried to sign a deal that would allow them once again to have the nuclear power to blow up Israel, which they promised they would do. John Fetterman supports that deal.
What?
It doesn't make any sense for America to treat our enemies better than our allies. We have to message with our strong voice and the energy we have in our country that we have control over our future. And the best way for America to establish its dominance is to unleash the energy here in Pennsylvania and across the country. By not doing that, not only do we cause all kinds of problems with local jobs and inflation, but we're destroying our ability to remain energy dominant, and we're not able to become allies like we should be for countries like European nations, which are going to struggle with their coldest winter ever. It's the best way to punch Putin back and to teach China a lesson is American energy to reign supreme. And John Fetterman doesn't like American energy, and they are scared of him because they know they can't trust him. He's proven it.
Mr. Oz, thank you. Lisa.
All right, on to our next issue. In our recent Nexstar poll, a hypothetical rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in 2024 would be a statistical tie in Pennsylvania. 46% of people said they would vote for former President Trump, 45% for President Biden. Mr. Oz, would you support a Trump 2024 run, and why 60 seconds?
I'll support whoever the Republican Party puts up. And I have reached out across the aisle on my campaign because I want to bring balance to Washington. And I've tried to work with Democrats and Republicans and people in the middle, and people unsure, and people who forgot, and people who got angry with where their party was headed. I want to bring us together to make this country do what it's always been able to do. Unify, not divide, and address the problems as a surgeon, because in the OR, that's what I do. I just fix the big problem in front of me. John Fetterman, however, cannot go to Washington and work with the other side because he doesn't even get along with his own side. He criticized Joe Biden for not spending enough money and not sidling up close enough to Bernie Sanders. He says he won't work with Joe Manchin. He said, if you like Joe Manchin, don't vote for me. So if you're picking fights with your own party, you're not going to be able to reach across the aisle to the other side. His extreme positions have made him untenable for Republican lawmakers. We need to send someone to Washington who understands the importance of balance, sensible decision-making, and a common sense approach to the challenges that we all face. That's not John Fetterman.
Mr. Oz, Donald Trump has supported you. He has endorsed you. Why won't you fully commit to supporting him in 2024?
Oh, I do. I would support Donald Trump if he decided to run for president.
All right.
But this is bigger than one candidate. This is a much bigger story about how we are going to build a bigger tent to let more Americans feel safe.
Are you concerned about the ongoing legal investigations involving the former president? 30 seconds, sir.
I haven't followed them very carefully. I've been campaigning pretty aggressively. They'll work themselves out. I have tremendous confidence in the American legal system, and I believe law and order will reign supreme. But speaking about that topic, there's one person on this stage who's broken the law, we believe. John Fetterman took a shotgun, chased an unarmed African-American man, and put the gun, apparently, according to that man, to his chest. John, you weren't pulled over by the police. They let you go. You were the mayor at the time. Why haven't you apologized to that unarmed, innocent black man who you put a shotgun to his chest?
All right, we will allow a 30-second response to that, Mr. Fetterman, specifically what
Please
he was
don't
saying
on him.
referring
Please
to the
don't on him.
incident in Braddock.
I made the opportunity to defend our community as the chief law enforcement officer there. Everybody in Braddock, an overwhelming majority community of black community, all understood what happened. You know, they understood what happened, and everybody agreed that, and nobody believes that it was anything about me making a split-second decision to defend our community as well.
Why not apologize?
Mr. Oz, please. We are still with Mr. Fetterman. Turning to you right now, you support a Biden run. Do you support a Biden run in 2024? Why in 60 seconds?
That's honestly, it's up to his choice whether he, and if he does choose to run, I would absolutely support him. But ultimately, that's ultimately only his choice.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. A follow-up question on this. Our Next Star poll shows 51% of Pennsylvania voters disapprove of the president's job performance. You have publicly supported many of his policy positions. Are there any that you disagree with? 30 seconds.
No, I just believe he needs to do more about supporting and fighting about inflation. And I do believe he can do more about that. But at the end of the day, I think Joe Biden is a good family man, and I believe he stands for the union way of life. And I believe that unemployment is already down to the lowest level in the last 50 years.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Dennis.
Let's turn now, gentlemen, to the issue of Social Security. It is only fully funded through 2034. Many Americans are worried that they will never receive their full benefit or have to accept cuts to their benefits. Mr. Fetterman, how are you going to make sure it is there for them? You have 60 seconds.
We need to make sure that Dr. Oz and the Republicans believe in cutting Medicare and Social Security. And I believe that they have to support and expand Social Security. And if somebody send me to Washington, D.C., I would support and stand and to support security, Social Security.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oz. Same question to you. How are you going to make sure that Social Security is available for future Americans? You have 60 seconds.
We made a deal with the wonderful seniors of our nation. They worked their hearts out. They paid into a program. No one's going to touch it on my watch except to make sure that it's stronger than it is right now. Social Security, Medicare, which I know a lot about as a doctor, are the fundamental element of security for our seniors, and they deserve to feel like they're valued by our nation. John Fetterman, again, has been running ads and saying that I'm against those with no proof. I have never said anything different than what I'm saying to you on this stage. But in an effort to fearmonger with people who are older and can be taken advantage of, he'll run these ads. John, it's reprehensible, but it's also reflective of your approach to doing these things. You haven't shown up on the campaign trail. You haven't answered questions from voters, not once on the campaign trail. You haven't answered questions from media once on the campaign trail, even just to show off that you could do it. And this is the only debate I could get you to come to talk to me on. And I had to beg on my knees to get you to come. And if it wasn't for Dennis probably getting involved, I don't think it would have happened. Seniors need to know more about your radical left positions, and I need to be able to tell them about my positions. That's what democracy is built on. We exchange ideas, the voters decide. You have hidden from them.
Mr. Oz, I'm going to let you have 15 seconds in a moment, Mr. Fetterman, but can you give us a specific example of what you would do to protect Social Security?
Well, for one, we have to make sure that it adequately increases with the higher inflation rates that we have. So we've got to make that 4% of wasted money that right now is in the budget redirected appropriately. And one of the first places that I would use it is Social Security and Medicare. And here's the reason. One of the worst things we can do to a people is give them bad quality care. And so if you have If you have people who are not going to see a doctor, for example, because they can't afford it, they'll get sicker. Bad medicine means more cost. No one benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Fetterman, he said a few things a moment ago. I want to give you 15 seconds to respond to those.
Now, again, I can't just say one thing other than that Dr. Oz would not support, and he would support cutting Medicare. And that's
John, why do you say that? I've never said that.
It's absolutely a fact. It's a fact. You would have voted against the Inflation Reduction Act, which has dropped our prescription drugs, and he doesn't believe.
Okay, gentlemen, we need to move on. Lisa.
All right, we are moving on to the topic of education. The cost of college tuition is now out of reach for many, many families. Our question is for both of you. We start with Mr. Oz. What is your plan to bring down the cost of higher education long term? You have 1 minute, Mr. Oz.
I've worked in academic medical centers my whole life, so I'm in higher education. And I can tell you the reason the prices have gone up sixfold in the last 40 years is not because the education quality is better. We've added extra layers of middle level individuals who don't actually improve the quality education, in my opinion. There's a lot of expenses now incurred by these institutions, and it's not right for the American people to be stuck with the bill. I would push them to offer more electronic classes. Half the kids don't live on campus anyway. John Fetterman's approach, however, is not to deal with the unnecessarily high costs, but just to pay it. So if you want to pay students who didn't pay their loans back, basically what John Fetterman and Joe Biden are arguing for is for plumbers who didn't go to college and couldn't, for a bunch of reasons, afford it, to pay the bills of lawyers who went to graduate school and haven't paid their debt back.
That's bullshit.
I don't think that's right for the American people. We want a fair system. Drop the cost down by pushing for more value for the money we're spending, and then ensure there's a high-quality education that lets people make a living when they graduate.
All right, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal specifically on the issue of student loan debt, which Mr. Oz was referring to. Mr. Fetterman.
Again, Dr. Oz, loves free money when it's a $500,000 tax break on one of his, homes down in a ranch in Florida, and whether it was a $50 tax break, about his farm in Montgomery County. So it's about supporting and helping, young earners, young students to give them a break. I believe that supporting.
All right, let me just ask specifically with the plan to ease student loan debt, the debt forgiveness of $10,000, $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. Do you support that position?
I do absolutely support that. I believe, like I said, it's about helping young learners, be able to get a better start, getting off in the start of their life. And
What the fuck was he supposed to do? Everybody's saying like, oh, is this the best Dems can do? What are you guys, fucking stupid? He's a stroke victim.
All right, Mr. Fetterman, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Mr. Oz. And what is your plan to bring down the cost of higher education?
His policies are good. His heart is in the fucking right place. Yeah. He's literally a fucking victim of a stroke. What can you do in that situation?
I did answer the question.
Mr. Oz, please give him a moment.
You didn't. I fundamentally believe that every quality public university education should be very affordable in every state. And I think that needs to be a significant investment, to make sure that anyone be able to afford.
Drop out of the race and have someone else run? Yeah, a fucking demon, dude. He's actually a really good candidate. If he wasn't fucking stroked out at this moment, like he's a really good fucking candidate. A lot of you motherfuckers have never even heard of him beforehand. You have no idea what his fucking, you have no idea what his worldview is. You have no idea what his fucking policies are. But unfortunately, a lot of people are stupid like you are. That's why I'm frustrated. So for everyone who's doing fucking copium right now, being like, oh my God, maybe people don't watch debates. It doesn't matter. People watch the highlights. And every single fucking highlight that they're going to cut from this debate is going to make him look terrible. Okay? And most people don't think about the policies. They're not voting for a policy position. They're voting for someone on pure aesthetics. And pure aesthetics have actually been really helpful for John Fetterman because he is a fucking, run-of-the-mill, average Joe, everyday Pennsylvanian, and a big dude, too, on top of that. He would have fucking murked Dr. Oz if it was like full capacity John Fetterman. You try to be unbiased? Fuck no, of course I'm biased. What are you, fucking stupid? Yes, I'm biased. Everyone's biased. At least I'm honest about my biases, though.
The vocational education. This is really important for us to allow our trade unions to get more closely linked with the vocational schools. I was in a vocational school in Westmoreland, and they have about 1,000 kids. They could take 2,000 kids. Funding those programs is the smartest way to invest our tax dollars. We'll turn out twice as many children who have a job as soon as they graduate. It supports our trade unions who want those kids in their positions anyway. It makes the whole program work.
Thank you, Mr. Oz. Mr. Fetterman, if elected, what would you do for vocational education? You have 30 seconds.
Again, I think it's just the same way university for degrees as well too. Supporting that and partnering with the unions and making sure that vocation training are is affordable, and providing the resources to make sure everyone has the opportunity. Going to college isn't the right choice for every person, but going to those kind of vocational schools, able to create a career to reach a lot of high salary, and again, supporting to reduce those costs are critical too.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Dennis.
Moving now, multiple members of Congress, specifically Democrats, have called for the Supreme Court to be expanded. Candidates, we want to know where you stand on this. Mr. Fetterman, should the Supreme Court be expanded? And if so, by how many justices? You have 60 seconds.
I don't believe, I don't stand, and I don't believe in that. I fundamentally believe that even though I don't agree with the ideological breakup of the Supreme Court, I believe.
Disability of speech due to a stroke is no different than having a disability due to a car accident. If the guy's paralyzed, people will be talking like this. They would get shamed. You should be shamed. He has full cognitive function and can perform his duties. What's wrong with you? Are you fucking stupid? Did something happen where your cognitive facilities diminished? If I lived in Pennsylvania, I'd still vote for him. I'm still an advocate for John Fetterman. I'm an advocate for what he believes in. I am upset with the way things have fucking panned out because I understand how the average American voter votes. Shut the fuck up, you dumb, brain-broken, absolutely fucking literal vegetable-brained dickhead. Normal voters look at a guy who is not able to string sentences together and go, fuck that. That's it. That's the point.
In the Senate without getting the normal amount of votes to actually expand the Supreme Court, add more states, do things that are detrimental to the well-being of the country. So I think, and your first day back, arguing that we should get rid of the filibuster is a dangerously radical move that would hurt Washington. It's not in our nation's best interest.
I know that person was defending Fetterman.
Thank you.
But attacking me, saying I'm being fucking able is my criticism. They're a fucking idiot.
Closing statements. You each have 90 seconds to convince Pennsylvanians to vote for you on Election Day. Mr. Fetterman, you are first. 90 seconds.
Once again, I would just like to say that my campaign is all about fighting for anyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to get back up again. I'm also fighting for any forgotten community all across Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to be made to get back up. I've made my entire career dedicating to those kinds of pursuits. I started as a GED instructor back in Braddock over 20 years ago because I believe it's about serving Pennsylvania.
He's real.
Not about using
this
Pennsylvania
is real.
For their
it's
own
the
end
dude. There is no fucking God. Okay, there is no God. There is no justice, and there is no karma. Evil will always fucking win.
Values.
You got a dude like him.
Have always been about fighting for forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania.
That is real. That is 100% real.
Oz,
but it doesn't matter because he can't
90
communicate it currently because I'm fucking stroked. Like 4 days before the fucking campaign, I'm losing my mind.
I listened to what you say, and I'm trying to help address them today. I've talked to seniors worried their Social Security checks wouldn't go far enough with the raging inflation. I've talked to couples want to make their first down payment on a new house and they can't afford it anymore because of interest rates. I've talked to families.
You want to cut Social Security.
Mr. Fetterman, it's his turn for his closing.
I've talked to families worried about fentanyl showing up in their mailbox and literally taking the lives of their children who they find blue in bed. I've talked to families who won't let their kids go outside because of the crime wave that's been facilitated by left radical policies like the ones John Fetterman has been advocating for. But here's the deal, right? None of this has to happen. This is all very addressable. I'm a surgeon. I'm not a politician. We take big problems, we focus on them, and we fix them. We do it by uniting, by coming together, not dividing. And by doing that, we can get ahead. But I've got one question to challenge you with, just one question. If you take what I'm saying to heart, ask yourself this and others in your family. Are you unhappy with where America's headed? I am. And if you are as well, then I'm the candidate for change. I'm a living embodiment of the American dream. I believe we're the land of opportunity, the land of plenty. I believe we can balance a budget without recklessly spending. I believe we can have an unleashed energy policy that helps us all. I believe that we can have safe city streets and a secure border so legal immigrants can come across, but you shut the fentanyl out. I believe we can give parents choice in where their kids go to school. We can have affordable health care. But most of all, I believe in you. And if you can do this together, and we can, I would ask for your vote on Election Day. God bless you.
We do have one final question, an important issue in Pennsylvania. The eyes of the state are on this debate tonight, but on Sunday they will be on Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia as the state's two NFL teams go head-to-head. Mr. Fetterman, Steelers or Eagles, and why?
Oh, clearly, always for the Steelers.
Mr. Oz.
I'll be at the game rooting for my Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much. This does conclude our debate. We do want to thank our candidates for being with us, Mr. Fetterman and Mr. Oz, and for all of you at home who have been watching. Thank you so much.
And we want to thank our team at WHTM for hosting us at their studios tonight.
I'm not going to lie, even Nexstar didn't do all that bad of a fucking job, okay? Here it is. Herschel Walker with CTE, on his way to a W. John Fetterman with stroke symptoms, on his way to an L. I fucking hate the way this country works, man. Yeah, because Herschel Walker with CTE was, one, carried by the fucking moderation, and two, actually benefited from the low expectations that he had. I called it the Joe Biden technique, okay? People expected him to be like John Fetterman, and he outperformed those expectations. But it doesn't really matter, because the best thing that came out of that debate, because you guys are right, people don't watch debates, they watch the highlights. Best thing that came out of that debate was the Herschel Walker pulling out a fucking prop and be like, I'm actually a police officer. There is no good clippable moments from this debate with respect to John Fetterman. Unfortunately, he is not able to fucking craft a full sentence. He flubs his words regularly. Okay? I don't think his cognitive capabilities have diminished or anything, but I do believe that he was incredibly fucking nervous, and as a consequence of the stroke is a little bit slower and is having a hard time stringing sentences along, especially because of how fucking nervous he is. And also, he was going up against the highest level TV guy you could get. Dr. Oz is a TV person. He is significantly better than Donald Trump in crafting full sentences and clearly communicating a message in the most cogent, coherent way you could possibly deliver it. He is a fucking snake oil salesman, and he sold the greatest snake oil of all time tonight, conservatism. And he actually didn't just go full conservative, full Trumpian conservative. If you noticed, he very carefully and very deliberately crafted his narrative in the most centrist way possible. I care about uniting the country. He didn't go Doug Mastriano. He distanced himself from Doug Mastriano, and he actually made it seem like he was here for the Pennsylvanian suburbs. He only cared about the crime thing because he knows white suburban Pennsylvanians are fucking terrified of Philadelphia. They're terrified of black people, and they're terrified of the crime wave that's happening in Pennsylvania across the board. When you look at the actual facts, when you look at the actual evidence, the crime wave is greatly overblown by mainstream media. Unfortunately, Fetterman also could not answer with the clarity that the situation deserved. Okay? Unironically, Fetterman did 10 times better than I could have done. Yeah, motherfucker, no one's voting for you. You're not a politician. What the fuck? No one thinks about it that way. You don't go, oh man, I know that the Lakers lost by 40, but LeBron played 1,000 times better than I could. Yeah, no shit. The fuck do you mean? Anyway. Fetterman should have never done this debate. The bad PR from avoiding the debate would have been far, far, far less than damaging than this debate will be. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, this is sad, but you have to admit how ridiculously funny the situation is. No, man, it's not funny. It's not funny at all to me, okay? You get like a decent fucking candidate that is a shoo-in, okay? That is like born and bred, Pennsylvanian, 6'8", looking like a wrestler Andy, okay? Who literally is like, I live across the street from a fracking operation. Like, you know what I mean? Who has put his life on the line to defend his small town originally in Braddock. Like, that's real. All that shit is real. He has the backing. He has the on-the-ground support. And then he gets he becomes a stroke victim and is incapacitated right before the fucking campaign. It is literally like, it is the most tragicomic, okay? Like the most tragic situation that you could ever get to. Like the dark humor in it would be laughable if you were to think about it like you're not someone who will be impacted by those decisions. Yeah, it's funny if you're living in like fucking Iceland or some shit. Do I think he has a shot? Yes. Here's the thing, okay? There are truths to what you guys have said about not everybody watching debates and whatever. People don't watch debates. They watch highlights. They watch what the media covers. Now, more importantly than media coverage, however, is on-the-ground door knocking, okay? And John Fetterman is so fucking viciously Pennsylvania that he has been going balls to the fucking wall on the ground. He's done rallies. He's rallying everywhere. He is out there working day in, day out, okay? So if his door-knocking operation helps him, door-knocking operation helps him, then maybe he can overcome the sea of negative attacks that are going to come his way in Pennsylvania. Almost 30% said they're less likely to vote for him. That's crazy. And also, this is before the debate, not after. You guys are stupid. This is before the debate. No, 50% said more likely to support him because they're saying like they too, 15% probably have like some level of illness in a similar capacity, so they sympathize with him more. He's like overcoming such a devastating medical condition. That's where that 15% comes from, you fucking weirdo chatters. That was incredibly hard to watch, man. I'm sorry. What is this? Good Reddit? What the fuck is that? Fetterman luckily did do a great job at defining Oz and putting him in a box early on in the campaign as a rich and spoiled carpetbagger. But tonight truly was, if 64% of Pennsylvanians genuinely watched the debate like they said they would, tonight was truly a devastating fucking moment for the campaign. What I mean by that is this, okay? John Fetterman did not look good there. It's just the truth. He did not. And people are not going to be kind to him. They're going to be immensely and incredibly fucking weird to him. Okay? They're going to be awful to him. They're going to say awful shit. They're going to be like, look at him. He sounds robotic. He can't even fucking string sentences together. Like you are right now? What? I'm being awful to him? Brother, my statements are completely unrelated. As you know, if I had the opportunity, I would vote for him, okay? If I lived in Pennsylvania, I'd be voting for him. What the fuck are you saying? I'm talking about what the people will perceive him as. Most people are not as in tune with politics. Even in this fucking community, most people are not as in tune with politics, let alone John Fetterman's individual politics. I've been a fan of John Fetterman for a very long time. I've been talking about John Fetterman for fucking years. Shut the fuck up. Like I said, the positives here are hopefully not many people watch the debate. And, you know, obviously, if you live in Pennsylvania, you're still voting for fucking John Fetterman. Like, don't be stupid. And I'm not saying that he's not capable of fucking running or he's not capable of fucking doing a good job. Of course he would. Infinitely better than fucking Dr. Oz, obviously. But better than most other Democrats even. Almost all other fucking Democrats.
Allowed our nation to thrive, to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation.
Ooh, that's a good fucking moment. I didn't even see that. Oh, I was so fucking mad at what was going on that I didn't even hear that. That's good. Oh, that's really good. That's really, really good that Dr. Oz said that. Holy fuck. Focus on the ground will now be on reproductive rights. It's what's on the ballot. No, man, it's not just that. You're crazy. Most people now care about inflation. Reproductive rights war was fought. Kansas was a W for it. But the real fucking problem now for many Americans is that because we have a very short memory, a lot of people care about inflation. They tie that directly to Joe Biden. They say Joe Biden is not doing enough on inflation. Gas prices are getting high again. Joe Biden's not doing enough on gas prices. Okay, people are looking at inflation and people are looking at the economy. Okay, they're doing that. That's all Fox News talks about, and that's why that's all the conversation is around. And crime too. Both of those are seen as positives for the Republicans and negatives for the Democrats. Dr. Oz, I mean...
About Bernie again.
That wasn't a good fucking take, though, because the way he worded it made it seem like he's anti-Bernie.
Again, it's the Oz rule. He's on TV.
The Oz rule is like a good one-liner that he was using, and if he had delivered it better, it would have been better overall.
And he's lying. I never supported any of that thing. You know, he keeps talking about Bernie.
I never supported socialized medicine. That's what he's referencing here. Being somewhat anti-Bernie might be okay for PA. No, man. That's not true. That is not true. These people, you know why people like Bernie Sanders, especially in places like fucking Pennsylvania? Because Bernie is an old guy who's like, I don't care about identity politics. Okay? The very same reason why, like, the neoliberal institutions fucking say Bernie is racist and sexist, even though he clearly is not, is the same reason why a lot of these other parts of the country actually like him, because they care about the economy. Okay? Bernie Sanders is a very progressive person. He's very progressive on civil liberties and civil rights. He's a person who quite literally has gotten arrested defending black people's right to live in housing during the civil rights movement, okay? But he also is like, trying to strike the issue at its heart. The most important thing you should be campaigning on is putting more money in American citizens' pockets. He understands that reality, and that's why he's very popular in areas that are otherwise red or purple. The debate was not available on Philadelphia 17 and the Philadelphia region on Verizon Fios. A lot probably did not watch. Fios has a lot of customers in PA. Yeah. Anyway. Also, yeah, people don't fucking watch the debate live. They're not fucking freaks like we are. Okay? Weeby is correct. People are going to watch this on local news coverage as they fucking blast John Fetterman. It's all entirely dependent on how nice local news is going to be to John Fetterman, and I know national news is not going to be good to John Fetterman. Okay? Hard to say Oz didn't win that debate. Probably impossible for him not to, given Fetterman's continuing speech issues. If Oz ends up squeaking this out, people will point back to this debate and Fetterman's team for allowing him to do it. Anyone watching today could tell there was only one person on that stage who could represent Pennsylvania. Look, they're fucking lining up the most right-wing commentary. Like, Pat Toomey. Bro, why are you putting Pat Toomey up as the first person? Jessica Banham says we should be focusing on the real issues. Watching the Fetterman-Oz debate, and it's clear that accommodations were insufficient. Closed captioning was a good start, but this is the only beginning of the conversation. Charlie Thompson, I think I would have preferred fewer questions and more times for the responses, and to be honest, and now good luck to the people with the hardest jobs of all. The reporters have the false stories on this deadline tonight. Yeah, okay. What should have fucking happened in this situation? What should have happened in this situation is they should have, the one way to reframe this conversation, if it's a good advantage, one way to reframe this conversation should be to say, the debate system was awful. Americans deserve longer responses from their fucking senatorial candidates, okay? Like, we deserve more. And the debate was loaded with a lot of issues. The accommodations were not good enough. It just, you go full anti-media and you try to do damage control and say, hey, the accommodations were not enough. Like, I'm capable of serving. The people of Pennsylvania know I am capable of serving. The thousands of people that I've seen in massive arenas that I've traveled to all across Pennsylvania know that I'm the right candidate for the job. But none of them actually ended up hearing any of that because I had 15 seconds to respond to questions that I was trying to read on a fucking teleprompter. Okay? And of course, Dr. Oz is going to be really good at this because that's all he does. Dr. Oz is a fucking snake oil salesman, and he sold the worst snake oil of all time. John Fetterman should say, I, John Fetterman, suffer from a stroke and have a health condition like the many millions of Americans. Okay? But more importantly than my health conditions, what happened last night was awful for the state of Pennsylvania because people didn't get to hear true answers. These kinds of debates are built for snake oil salesmen to fucking, run the show. In 2019, Fetterman did give another answer about fracking that I wish he was able to articulate. He argued that the next president shouldn't ban fracking in Pennsylvania unless and until there's a good plan to replace it. I know Fetterman's position on fracking. He's Pennsylvania. He's a Western Pennsylvania boy. He knows that you can't win Pennsylvania without fucking advocating for fracking. Okay, but in spite of that, he has time and time again been an advocate for Green New Deal and has quite literally mentioned that, look, ultimately this stuff is good for the short term for the economy of Pennsylvania. We're very thankful for the jobs that fracking has opened up in Pennsylvania. But the reality is that this is not sustainable. It's bad for the fucking environment. And it needs to go away. It needs to be replaced. But the only way, or perhaps the best way to do that, is by substituting these jobs with something else. Okay? He's also pro-decriminalization of marijuana. And his criminal justice, he's an advocate for criminal justice reform. So it's kind of weird that they tried to fucking say that he put a gun to the chest of a black person, but he's too soft on fucking crime. That is insane. Pennsylvanians, even the dumbest fucking Pennsylvanians, are most likely going to see the inconsistency there, where they're like, what the fuck? He chased after a black person with a shotgun as the mayor. He looks like a fucking bounty hunter, but he's also soft on crime. It makes no sense. Anyway, why are you saying this? Honestly, the pandemic clearly displayed that the vast majority of Americans do not give a single fuck about their people and their troubles. They only care about themselves and their own stupid ideas. Anyway, luckily Mastriano is such a fucking major psycho that John Fetterman can eke out a victory there as well against Dr. Oz, even though his debate performance was awful. But I'll tell you this much. If John Fetterman loses in the Senate race now, it is I will point to this debate as the reason. Okay? There were multiple moments in that fucking debate where Dr. Oz was shitting on Fetterman, but Fetterman could have used that as a great opportunity to be like, yeah, I don't suck the Democratic Party's dick because I suck Pennsylvania's dick. You know what I'm saying? I ride for Pennsylvania. That's what I care about as a senator from Pennsylvania. Okay? That's why I have the capacity to disagree with my own fucking party. Obviously, I'm joking about the dick sucking thing. What I'm not joking about is the top of the hour ad break, which I forgot to run at 6, and I'm running at 6:20. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free.